Welcome to The Power and the Pain, where your past isn't your prison.
It's the fuel for your purpose.
I'm Greg Pease, combat veteran, NLP trainer, and your guide to turn trauma into triumph. This is The Power and the Pain. Let's go. Welcome back to another episode of The Power and the Pain. Today we're going to be talking about self-sabotage. What is it and how do we get rid of it? For a lot of us, this is a topic that hits close to home. A lot of us are very aware that we are good at self-sabotage, and we would love to remove the programming of self-sabotage. It may be easier than you ever imagined before, and I'm going to share with you some information today on how you can overcome self-sabotage, again, in a way that you may have probably not even considered or looked at before, in a way that makes it really easy to let go of self-sabotage. Before we dive into how we remove the programming or overcome the programming of self-sabotage, let's talk a little bit about what it is. Self-sabotage can look like procrastination. It can look like anxiety. It can look like depression, fear. Self-sabotage can look like physical illness, or self-sabotage might look like doom scrolling on your phone. Or am I the only one that ever does that? Or self-sabotage might look like binge watching Netflix. Anything that we do that takes us away from our mission or achieving what we're looking to accomplish. This is where we are doing this to ourselves and we are sabotaging our mission. Now, generally speaking, a lot of times we are chasing dopamine. A lot of times we're chasing dopamine. And we can even believe that, and listen, everyone's entitled to their opinions and beliefs. We can even, if we go see, if we go see the drug dealers in the white coats, if we go see a doctor, we'll get a label for our behavior. And for some weird reason, once we get that label, that is our get out of jail free card. Like, it's proof I have a thing. Doctor said it's ADHD. Listen, back in the 80s, like before it was ADHD, that like in the early form of diagnosis, this was called ADD, attention deficit disorder. And I remember in the 80s, I was diagnosed with ADHD. And the only reason why I remember is because I remember overhearing adult conversations where certain adults were asking, I've heard of ADD, what's ADHD? He has ADHD. I knew I had this thing, I caught it. I caught the ADHD. And I remember hearing people talk, it's attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Not only can he not keep his focus, but he's always hyper. He always has all this energy. And they prescribed me this drug called Ritalin. Now, as a child, I remember thinking to myself as a child, there is nothing frigging wrong with me. I don't like, I definitely, truth is, like, I operated a little bit different than most people. Whatever label you choose, I was a little bit unique, but we all are. But in my uniqueness, like, I knew that there was nothing wrong with me and I wasn't any different than anyone else, other than the fact that they are as unique as I am unique. But other than that, like, I knew there was, like, it just didn't seem right. I'm like, why does this have to have a label? Why does this have to be a thing? And I used to fake taking my Ritalin and then spit it out on the way to school. It wasn't that I didn't like the way it made me feel or anything of this nature. Just was under the impression as a child, there's nothing wrong with me. Like, literally, like, I was thinking there's nothing wrong with me. I'm so glad that I did have that impression, because now as an adult, I know that there's nothing wrong with me and there's nothing wrong with you. Okay. there are varying degrees of, for example, anxiety, depression, whether it be ADD, ADHD, there are varying degrees. And so you may have an extreme clinical case in which it is going to actually benefit you. You may utilize the form of, you may utilize medicine. You may need medical doctors to like watch your journey on the early as you begin. So depending on how far we are, right, there's varying degrees of this, right? But a lot of times, like, for example, I'll speak on post-traumatic stress or PTSD. If we experienced a traumatic event, until we finalize processing it, there is going to be some post-traumatic stress to be processed. Okay. If I jump every time I hear a loud noise, that would be a reaction or a trauma response to the traumatic event that took place, right? And that if that's the only reaction I was having, that would be a degree. But if there's another human being that was not able to sleep more than 30 minutes at a time or more than, say, 4 hours in a 24-hour period, they would also have PTSD. They're probably going to need, and I say probably, in my opinion, they need a lot more support than what I would need in my PTSD in that chapter. Okay, I say this with a disclaimer to say, depending on where you're at in this journey and how heavy things are, allow yourself to get the help that you need. All right, now with that being said, a lot of us are simply chasing dopamine, and it's not because we can't, it's not because we are, that this is who we are. Like we just, oh, my brain just works that way. We are conditioning. Your brain works in the way of its current conditioned responses. And if we have only ever, if the goalpost has always been 6 inches in front of us, then we are very, very conditioned that, like, if 6 inches in front of us, we don't get a hit of dopamine, this doesn't work. So we do things like, speaking about self, doom scrolling on social media. I don't do the binge watching, but it doesn't make me any better because I double make up for it with the doom scrolling. So there's that. Okay, but we do these things because in that moment, we get this dopamine. And then we get locked into doing it. And then every time we go to break away from it, we get sucked back into whatever your program is. Fear, anxiety, depression, the dopamine chasing, whatever the way you do self-sabotage, we get pulled back into this. And it's because we are conditioned. And in this area, things are okay. I give the example, for those of us that have been through not just traumatic experiences, but long-term exposure to chaos, especially at younger ages. So long-term exposure. So we're not talking about acute traumatic events. We're not talking about something that happened and bam, this is an event. Wow, that took place there. But like extended exposures, months and years of extreme chaos. When we are conditioned to that, we learn how to operate inside of that chaos. And we have to, or we don't survive. We learn how to operate efficiently inside of that chaos. And then, listen, this one's going to hit home for a lot of people. This one hits home for me. And then, like, we get to a place where life stabilizes. And this is happening at an unconscious level. That's why I say it's going to hit home, because you may not have even consciously realized this before. We get to a place where life stabilizes, and unconsciously, it's like we will procrastinate. We will run all these programs of self-sabotage so that the situation gets chaotic, because that is where we are most powerful Tell me you don't shine really hard when the shit hits the fan. Tell me when everyone else loses their mind and they're no clue what to do next. Tell me that's when you're not the calmest and thriving, making decisions, leading, directing the show. And you think that's your superpower. You think that's your strength. It is for now. But you can have a strength in which you are capable of leading and unconsciously manifesting in peace instead of in chaos. We get so good, so efficient at operating inside of chaos that in order for us to operate efficiently, we self-sabotage until we have chaos. Until the situation gets very, very rough to manage, that's when we feel our most strength. We are most tactical. Tactical is like the in-the-moment decisions. When the shit hits the fan, what do we do? Like front of the lines, right? Like instant in-the-moment decisions, no time to think about it. We got to, make a decision, and each decision we make could have potential collateral damage. That's an ability to operate tactically. You have a tactical advantage if you're able to mentally stay calm and formulate decisions in chaos. The other side of the coin is a strategical strength. And strategy is the ability to see further ahead. So those that are good tactically, they're going to see a battle, go out, charge the hill, and conquer the battle. And they're going to figure out the way to conquer, and they will improvise, and they will conquer that hill. The strategy, or the person that's good with strategy, they're looking at this instead of as a battle and as a war. And the person with strategy is realizing, sure, we could take over that hill, and at what cost of collateral damage to us. And it is imperative we must take over this hill over here. If we acquire collateral damage here first and then go to this hill, we are at a disadvantage. We can just sneak around this hill. And then when we get to this hill, we have all of our resources. And when we crush this hill will no longer fight us. That's strategy. That's seeing a lot further than 6 inches in front of us. All right. Let's get into overcoming self-sabotage. How do we get rid of this? How do we overcome this? How do we let go of this old programming? The only reason you're so good at self-sabotage is because you've not only conditioned it, but you've practiced it for your whole life. You're exceptional at it. You're like me. All right, let's dive in. Overcoming self-sabotage. I'm going to share with you an approach that not only is easy, but you probably haven't even considered it. When you think about overcoming self-sabotage, you're probably thinking about things like discipline. You're probably thinking about things like scheduling. You're probably thinking about how do you consequence yourself? How do you get rid of your triggers? How do you change your environment? You can use all of these. They'll work as long as you work them. It's just kind of like white knuckling. Like as long as you hold on, it's going to work. So all those things work. Okay. And if you're committed to going that route, I believe you. Prove it to yourself. Go that route and get rid of self-sabotage. All right. If you're looking for something different, if you've tried that your whole life, everyone's told you discipline, get rid of the get rid of your TV, all the weird and things, and you've tried them and you're still coming back to self-sabotage. It's part of your unconscious programming. We have to rewrite or rewire your unconscious programming. Okay, when I say your unconscious programming, I'm talking about your neurology and I'm talking about your central nervous system. Every thought that we think, there's a massive series of calculations and electrical signals that are sent through our body. And based on prior experiences, our nervous system formulates an answer, response, or thought for us on an action to take. But we did not go in, think up right, obviously. We did not go in and consciously do a pro and con sheet. We are not aware of it. We didn't consciously go in and say, all right, when I was, this room is dark. When I was 14, there was a dark room and I heard a weird noise and I ran out of there and I never went back in and checked it. And then I heard a story about that there was a ghost in that room. When I was 7, my brother came in the room and scared me when I was dark. I don't think these things, but in my nervous system, it's running these things. And it's like, hey, we've had more bad occasions with rooms that were dark than we have had good occasions with rooms that were dark. We need to go ahead and initiate the program of fear right now. We need to go ahead and get them into fight, flight, or freeze right now. We need to go ahead and get them into retreat right now. And we're off to the races with self-sabotage. We're not consciously aware of it. Every time we're having an experience, that experience is coming in as part of the 2 million bits of information. It's being calculated by our nervous system. A response is being generated back for us, and that's what we think. That's our thoughts. But this is all based on unconscious programming, past experiences that we're not consciously evaluating in the moment. So if we want to change self-sabotage, we need to change our unconscious programming. All right. Right now, our unconscious program, we are unconsciously attracted to chaos because chaos means we win. Self has no enemy against self. Self is trying to get us to chaos so we can thrive. When we get to chaos, think about it, right? When we get to chaos, when there's 2 minutes left, like those of you that are good with self-sabotage, as good as I am, we're the most clutch players in the world. We will pull the rabbit out of the hat with 3 seconds left on the clock every time, won't we? That's why we're good at it. That's what we do. That's why we're attracted to it. And then everyone praises us for it. Not only do they praise us for it, but when they're in a pinch, when they're in a bind, who do they call? And then we feel empowered by it. They need us. Yeah, they need our trauma. And you can keep anchoring it for them if you want. Or we can let go of this. We can heal this so that we don't feel attracted and called to, at an unconscious level, a place of chaos. All right. The first thing we need to do if we're going to shift our neurology, our unconscious programming, so that we forget to do self-sabotage, the first thing we need to do is, ultimately, put a goalpost out a little bit. But let me break it down for you. Here's how we're going to do it. The first thing is, what is it that you want? And listen, here's the piece that makes the magic work. What is it that you want in the very next chapter, the very next level? So what I mean is, most of us, and listen, most of us try to think about, like we're told, make our goals bigger, make big goals, juicy goals, bigger, 10x them, 100x them, all the things. So most of them are like, what do I want? First of all, we're afraid to answer that because the first fear that comes up is, what if I answer the question wrong? What if I say what I want and I get it and that's not what I actually wanted? And we have this fear only in existence because we never actually evaluated what we want. Okay. So first we have this fear of even saying what we want because we never evaluated what we want. So we don't know what we want. So we're afraid that we might say what we want, then get it. And then that's not what we want it. All right, cool. Let's talk about that. The second issue that holds us back from realizing what we want, specifically in the next chapter, is we try to think about it like we got one shot to ask. Like the genie popped up, we rubbed the lamp, the genie popped out. He's like, bro, the last guy used 2, but he had 1 left over. You can have this 1 wish. And we literally treat, when someone asks us, what do we want? We literally treat it like it's this one, we got 1 wish to make it happen. 1 shot, 1 kill, whatever we get. And then we're like, okay, I want to have a mansion. I want to have the 8 Bugattis, a helicopter, a private jet, a private island. I want to have these watches and these weapons and these things and organic, and this thing and this thing. And most of us have this like fallacy of a belief that making it, I think I'm about to strike a chord for some, right? A lot of us have this fallacy of a belief that making it is our ability to like sip Mai Tais on the beach or something. And you can if you want, but I promise if you just like, if you leisured on the beach every day, if you had no purpose on this earth, meaning if all you did was consume. So I go to the beach for me, and I go hiking for me, and for me. If all the things that I did every day were just an expression of me, listen, to each your own. Maintain your beliefs the way you want to maintain them. I'm going to suggest for you, and I know certainly for myself, it ain't me. It ain't going to take me 2 weeks before I got to go do something. I got to go build something. I got to go help someone. I mean, look, let's say you're way better than me and it takes you 2 years. Like eventually you're going to get completely bored of self-gratitude, self-expression, all for self. And then most of us at this point in the conversation, well, no, I would. And look, if we've never thought this far, what you're saying right now, listen, I don't even listen. I know you through the speakers right now. If you haven't actually done this journey, what you're saying right now is, I would donate money to charities. All right. But what would you do day to day? Like you could donate all your money to charity in one day if you want. But what would you do each day? So the first thing we want to look at is, okay, what do we want big picture? Yes, of course we want financial freedom. Let me go ahead and tell you that. You want financial freedom. You want time freedom. You want geographical freedom. Yes, you do. All right. Once you have achieved that, once you have that, what will that do for you? How will you give away your time and money, and to who and in what way and why? And only you get to say why. That is the big picture, what you want. Like the biggest picture that I see right now for myself. And I say right now, in the future, I'll see even more. It's kind of like the headlights driving at nighttime. I can only see 20 feet in front of me, but as long as I keep going, I can drive all the way across the country. And the whole way will be illuminated 20 feet at a time. All right. So in the future, I'll see a bigger picture. But as of right now, the biggest picture I see, my wife and I, we are going to own at least a minimum of 150 acres, 2 entry points onto this 150 acres. Both entry points have to be from separate roads. They can be private roads or public, but 2 separate roads. One goes to our house. The other one goes to a nonprofit retreat facility that I will run myself. And then I plan on doing high level, very expensive, very exclusive business consulting. I want to work with a very few amount of people, and I want to work with them very well. Business consulting, and then doing public seminars. Now, this is at this point in time in my life, we're talking about being debt free. We're talking about having all the finances we need to have financial and time freedom. And then I'm talking about giving back through my skills, my passions, my talent of consulting, in which generates me money, in which funds the nonprofit, in which I can bring people in without money to have an experience and a transformation that they otherwise would not have been able to have. Yes, I'll vacation. Yes, I'll have fun. Yes, I'll hike. Yes, I'll go to the beach. Like as much as I possibly can in between serving my impact, serving my mission, creating my legacy. What is it that you want after you create time and financial freedom? How will you give away your time and financial freedom? Not how will you create it. You'll create it in any way you need to. It doesn't matter. You can clean toilets, sell books, be an HVAC, a plumber, a realtor, attorney. It doesn't matter. You'll achieve it whichever way you choose, and you can drive 10 vehicles on your way there. It doesn't matter. Once you have it, how will you give it away? That's how you want to live your life. The biggest picture. All right. Next. Now, take your time with that, by the way. Like if you need like a couple hours, fine. If you need a couple days, fine. If you need a couple weeks, fine. If you need a couple months, still fine. Continue to go. Treat it as a daydream. Don't over like therapy this thing. Treat it as a daydream. Like our mind wanders anyway. Just tell your mind, hey, I want you to wander over here and think about this and all the ways that it could be so. What would be the best? Anytime you see something you don't like, what would have to be so that that wasn't there? Like, I want greenways on my property. Like, when I think about, like, I literally thought to myself, I'm like, I want to go on walks with my wife and not just, like, to the back fence line, right? We have 150 acres. And I was like, yeah, my wife, like, you know, she'll hike a little bit around with me, but, like, she's not doing an everyday hike in the backyard or, you know, out on the property. And I thought, well, what would have to be so that she could? Well, if we had greenways, she'd easily walk it. All right, done. Yeah, we'll have greenways. Why not? Take 20 acres of greenways. That's a massive amount of greenways and a tiny little piece of my property that we can create a little maze of greenways and walk different paths and labyrinths. Okay. How could it be, right? All the things that aren't quite favorable. How could it be? It's so far out there. It's not there yet. We are just imagining it. Allow yourself to have the freedom of imagining it. In this process of imagination, everything that's ever been created was created from imagination. In this process of imagining, you are rewriting your neurology. When you are imagining what you are going to do in the future, do you understand this is a future memory? You are remembering something that happened in the future, no different than when you remember something that happened in the past. Do you understand that when you remember something that happened in the past, we did like a double air quote on that one. When you remember something happened in the past, you understand you're just imagining it. It's not like when they do an autopsy, they can't put your memories on the table. I mean, me and you know we have memories. I know I have memories. You know you have memories. But they're not tangibly in existence in any way, like at all. We don't have a memory gland, like at all. Like they're not tangibly in existence. When you have a memory of what happened in the past, you are simply reimagining, recreating. It's gone. It's not in creation anymore. You are literally recreating in your imagination something that happened in the past. No different than you can create in your imagination something that will come to pass in the future. Give yourself room. Give yourself leeway here. Take your time with it. Again, don't over therapy it. Don't over structure it. This is a daydream. What do you want? Let's get that goalpost way out there. Okay? Then I want you to look at, where am I at right now? I don't care. I don't care where it is. When I started my journey, my wife is my incredible witness to this. When I started, let me pause. When I started my journey, I started my personal development journey in 2011. I met my wife in 2013. We are maybe the end of 12 or maybe it was January, very end of 12, early 13. And so we are almost 2 years into our personal development journey. When I met my wife, I had no car. I had a Bank of America bank account that was overdrafted. I had an iPhone 4. Sprint turned the service off, the cellular service off. They want you to make the payment every month, obviously. But I had an iPhone 4 because I could hang out in a Starbucks parking lot and get Wi-Fi. So I had an iPhone 4. This is it. I had no vehicle. I had repossessions on my credit report. My credit score was in the mid 300s. You got to work hard to get it there. You can't just accidentally arrive there. I was doing a good job at bad credit. This is where I was at when I met my wife, and I told my wife with a smile on my face, this is all temporary. I'm going to write a book, and I'm going to be a motivational speaker. 12, 13 years later, that truly came into fruition. Okay? I don't care where you are at right now. You got to not have a car, not have a cell phone, and have a bank account overdrafted and a credit score in 350. You got to be doing somewhere like worse than that if you're like, no, you don't get it, Greg. But if you're anything above that, like The Rock, I like to one up The Rock all the time. Dwayne Johnson. So I started with 17 cents. Must be nice. You could afford some certs or something, maybe. I don't know. I'm just kidding here. But listen, I don't care where you're at today. First, take inventory. Where am I? What's my situation? What does it look like? Now we have, listen, let's check it out where we're at. We have now, here's my situation. Here's where I'm at right now. Here's what's going on. Here's the biggest picture I can see in life right now. Here's what I want to create. What is the next chapter? What is the next level? What is the next layer? What must happen next so that from here, I become one step closer to here? And you decide that. So, for example, you might say, well, when I was in my position, for me, getting a car was the most important thing at first. Car was the most important thing at first to me. The next most important thing was a phone. The next most important thing to me was a source of income. I needed a car so that I could get to and from wherever job purpose is going to be. I need a phone to be able to obviously make these phone calls and so forth. By the way, I borrowed $1,000 from my brother, and I bought I'm pretty sure it was a 1990. Toyota Corolla with 320,000 miles on it. But when you put the key in the ignition and turned it, it went rum. It was missing a few features and such, but this thing got from point A to point B. Borrowed $1,000 from my brother. I bought that car. I went out. I got a job. Obviously, I'm using someone else's cell phone number in the very, very front. I get that paycheck, and then I go buy a track phone. And we are rolling, baby. Listen, once I had literally, when I have no car, no phone, no money, when I had a car, a track phone, and $100 in my pocket, like right now, if I had a 1990 Toyota Corolla with 320,000 miles and I was using a track phone and I only had $100 in my pocket, we would not be doing well. It would not be a good day. But back then, I was killing the game. Get out of my way. I have $100 in surplus. Excuse me. Okay. Like that was like just getting a car. Like, how do you get the car? I couldn't borrow money. I did. Right. And so, family, brother, Yeah. Remember, ran away home when I was 10. Like, it is my brother. That relationship is not like most brothers. Now, since being in, since then, that relationship has still strengthened because over the last 12 years. But at the time, I just showed up in Tennessee. Okay. So at the time, the next level for me is like, I need to get a car because at the time I had no clue how was I going to get a car. Now, as soon as I get the car, I got the next thing. I got to get the job. I got to get the phone. As soon as I get these things, like I got to get insurance. I got to go see a dentist. I didn't see it literally at this point in time. There was there was many and many years I hadn't seen a dentist. Now, brushing my teeth were doing well. Luckily, when I got to a dentist, everything was in a really good spot. But literally, these are things like, hey, if I want to keep taking care of myself, like there's a lot of deferred personal maintenance here. We got to get the next thing in order, the next thing in order. And I remember I had no savings, hand to mouth. I mean, literally, of course, right? And so I remember when it was like time to start building a savings. And I remember when I had $100 in savings. I remember when I had $1,000 in savings. I remember when I had $10,000 in savings. Man, you couldn't tell me nothing. First time I got to $10,000 in savings, and I mean saving. I don't mean no lump sum. I don't mean a big commission check and like working a job, a job. When I got there, I was like, you can't tell me nothing. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm rich right now. Okay, I'll get the next levels, and I started realizing new things. You got to break down like, hey, what is all the way up here? Once I get time and financial freedom, how will I give it away? What is that very next thing that I need to get to? And once you have that very next thing that you're going to get to, look, we got to build a plan, right? We got to build a plan. We got to break it down. We got to chunk it down. Before you build a plan, we got big picture. We got very next step. Before you build a plan on very next step, I want you to imagine, because you have achieved just the very next step, what does that allow you to do that you are unable to do right now? Hear me out. If, and you won't even find this to be so, if you were to say nothing, then I'd say, oh, good, don't do it. What are you doing it for? Like, when I get that done, that doesn't allow me to do anything that I can't do right now. Is that just a side quest? What are we doing it for? Right? But when you do realize, take a sip here. When you do realize what that allows you to do, okay, because I got a car, that means I can get to Franklin or Nashville. That means I can start securing jobs in Franklin, Nashville. That means I can make this much more. That means I'm going to be able to get my phone and get my Bank of America account squared away in this amount of time. You see, I think one of the biggest things where we do self-sabotage, so there's twofold, right? In the very, very beginning, when we're like really, really, really good at self-sabotage and we're never going to, it's that dopamine piece. We got to push the goalpost out, and we got to get conditioned to further action, more discipline before our dopamine. So sometimes it's that piece. The other side where we do, let's say like you have your goalpost pushed out. Let's say like you know what your big picture goal is. And let's say you already, like everything I've delivered so far, Greg, I'm doing it. I did all those things. All right, cool. If you're doing all of that and you're still finding self-sabotage, this last piece is for you. If you're doing all the things I said already and you're still finding self-sabotage, this last piece is for you. When we don't allow ourselves to see past the finish line, when we do not allow ourselves to see past the finish line, so that is to say, when we only see up to the finish line, when we only see up to and we do not see past the finish line, When we get very close to crossing the finish line, we will unconsciously manifest self-sabotage to include dis-ease or illness. When we get really close to the finish line, we will self-sabotage because we are much more afraid of success than we are of failure. There's a lie we've been told. It's a fear of failure that's holding us back. I think it's a fear of success. Like we get so close and then we do failure. Like when we're afraid, we don't run towards the thing that's creating our fear. We run away from the thing that's creating our fear. We get right close to the finish line and we don't run past it. We run back and do self-sabotage. We're so much more afraid of success than we ever were of failure. So, if you know what the next chapter is, and you know what the big picture is, and you hustle and you work hard, and you're like, Greg, it's not me. Like, I'm disciplined. I'm doing the things. I'm getting up. I have a goal. I have a big picture. You are self-sabotaging because you're afraid to death of success. Reject it if it's not for you. Here's something you can do to unconsciously bypass this. Like, we don't have to do years of therapy and process it and write down journals and count to 10 and take all the deep breaths. By the way, that works. So if it's working for you, work it. If it's not, let's go. I got something else. Here's how we're going to bypass the fear of success. See past the finish line. So what does achieving the next level do for you? What does that allow you to be able to do? When right now, one of my next chapter goals that I have is getting the Fourth Dimension Mastermind to 50 mastery level participants. That is attached to a numerical financial goal that I have. What does that numerical financial goal allow me to do that I'm unable to do right now? That numerical goal allows me to purchase the piece of land, the minimum of 150 acres, that my house is going to be custom built on, and that my retreat center is going to be custom built on. So when I have this much money, what will I do with it? I will be securing the land and beginning build plans. So now I am beyond excited to get past this goal. And I know exactly why I'm doing this goal. And I'm not afraid of accidentally achieving something and then people saying, what's next? What'd you do it for? And me sitting there going, I'm going to do better. It's our fear of judgment. Like, we have to have the answer for people. That's why we picked the thing that we never saw past the finish line, because we thought other people thought it would be good if we started a nonprofit, became an HVAC guy, got our bachelor's, master's, PhD. We thought other people would respect it. And either we got all the way to the finish line to realize it did nothing for us, or we got right close to the finish line, did a great job, self-sabotage, and fell back. Here's our takeaway. Wrap this up for everyone that's been on this journey with me for just about the last 45 minutes. Here's your 3 steps to overcoming, releasing, and forgetting self-sabotage. How cool would it be if you accidentally forgot to run the program of self-sabotage? The first thing is push the goalpost way out. Let you in on a little secret. What it is you want is time and financial freedom. Everyone does. once you have time and financial freedom, how will you give it away for the rest of your life until you die? How? Step one, push the goalpost way out. See the biggest picture you ever seen. Step two, take inventory of your shit. Where are you at right now? Wherever it is, it doesn't fucking matter. You're probably not a mid 300 credit score. You're probably not owing Sprint and Bank of America money. Probably not carless. And even if you are, so what? And even if you're further behind than I was, like your hole's even deeper than that, you're like, I fucking wish I was there, Greg. Good. Go create success from there and one-up me with my story like I did Dwayne Johnson. Take that, The Rock. Wherever you're at, okay? Take inventory where that is. What is the very next step to get to this big picture? Step two, take inventory. What is the very next step to get to this big picture? Step three, the very next step, this thing that I'm going to create, the very next step to get to this big picture, what does that then allow me to be able to do that I'm not able to do now? Once I'm aware of not only the next step, but the step after that and the big picture, the next step, the step after that, and the big picture. Now I'm ready to build an action plan on what I will do just to get to the very next step. Each action you take from this point moving forward, gives you an exponentially greater amount of dopamine because every single action you take. So the first action gets you 1 inch closer and the next action gets you 1 inch closer. But that 1 inch now means you are a total of 2 inches closer. And the next action 1, but a total of 3. You have enough dopamine to forget the old programming of, what was it we used to do? Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Share this episode with a friend if you know this will really help them. If you have that friend that maybe they do okay with self-sabotage too, and you want to help them get rid of it. Maybe you're looking for a battle buddy, an accountability partner. Send this episode to them. Everything in here everything that you need is in this episode and inside of you to create success. I'll catch you guys on the next one.
If this hit you deep, trust that.
Your pain has power, and your story isn't over.
Follow, share, and send this to someone who you think might benefit.
I'm Greg, and this was The Power in the Pain. Keep stepping into your power.